If you were here last weekend, you heard a message that you may have found a little bit surprising. We talked about the fact that each of us deals with emptiness inside of us, that there's an empty space that is very uncomfortable, and that we spend most of our lives trying to fill it. And the message of the gospel last week was, that spot is not meant to be filled. It's there on purpose. We're supposed to have emptiness. We don't like it. We don't like the way it feels, but it is meant to be there. And today, we see why. We must have an empty place so that when God enters us, there is a place for God to go. God has a place that can be filled. It's not already too cluttered so that there's no room. And that's what we hear about in the gospel. They were in the upper room praying because they did not know what was going to happen. They knew the authorities were dangerous. And Jesus had said, I will send you the Holy Spirit. So, there they were, praying. They prayed and they prayed for days. And what were they doing while they were praying? They were taking out the trash. They were deleting all of the spam emails. They were cleaning out the hard drive so that when the Spirit came, there was room. Pope Benedict XVI said something fascinating. He's our former pope before Pope Francis, but he's still alive, as you know. He's our Pope Emeritus. And he said one time, people do not realize what is inside of us. We don't understand. He said, just like your body has a soul, your soul has a soul. And he said, the soul of your soul is the Holy Spirit. Inside of us is our soul, and inside our soul is the Holy Spirit. Now, as I say that to you, if that doesn't put you back in your seat, it means it hasn't sunk in yet. Because that's huge. The Holy Spirit is in each of us, encased inside. That means we no longer have to just look for God outside of ourselves. The Holy Spirit is inside each one of us. Everywhere we go, we carry the Holy Spirit with us. Some of you may have met my friend, Father Kevin. He's a seminary buddy of mine, and he is a priest in Tampa, Florida. And he comes up once or twice a year, and he just made a visit, actually, this past week. And because the parishes were closed for Memorial Day, I took him to New York City for the day, which is kind of a big deal for someone from Tampa. And we had a great day, and one of the things we did was visit Ground Zero and the 9/11 Museum. And I don't know how many of you have been there, but it is amazing. It is. There's so much more to that museum than you could imagine. I had been to the gardens before, but never downstairs. And while we were touring, I saw the big retaining wall. I was probably, 3 stories underground, and there was this huge retaining wall there from the Twin Towers. It was placed there to keep the Hudson River at bay. And as soon as I saw it, it brought back a mental picture. I remembered 2 years ago when Pope Francis was here, he came to New York City and he went to Ground Zero and he did a prayer service in front of that wall with interfaith leaders from all different religions, and it was beautiful. So as soon as I saw the wall, I remembered it, and there we were at the foot of the wall. So I said to my buddy, Father Kevin, Pope Francis stood right here. And he said, wow. He said, that's really cool. But I brought it up again, like we were walking along, I'm like, isn't that weird? Pope Francis was right here. And he said, yeah. But I wouldn't let it go then either. I was like, isn't that, think about that. Pope Francis, right here. And I got to thinking later how funny that is, because as I was reflecting on these readings, I thought, I was really fascinated by the fact that Pope Francis had been in that spot. But maybe I was ignoring the fact that there were probably, 500 or 1,000 people there at that moment, walking around, carrying the Holy Spirit of God with them everywhere they go. So I was all focused on someone who'd been there 2 years ago. And there's all of this activity, people filled with God walking around. And I wasn't paying attention to that. That's what the second reading today was talking about. Paul to Corinthians, where he says, to each person, there is the Spirit given for a certain purpose. It's all for some benefit. Each of us has our job to do, and each of us has the Spirit. So here is the question for us. Do people perceive the Holy Spirit in me, in you? When they see us, do they think, oh, I love her. She is just filled with the Spirit. Or sometimes people will say, I love the spirit of that guy. Do people say that about us? There is something that we have to do in order for that to be true. In order for people to see the Holy Spirit when they see us, we need to make a fundamental decision about our lives. And that is, we need to decide to put our personality at the service of our soul. If our personality is the one driving the bus, people are not going to see the Holy Spirit in us. They're going to see us and all of our stuff and all of our quirks. But if we let our personality serve the Holy Spirit, that's when people say, oh, she is just filled with the Holy Spirit. I see the Holy Spirit in her or in him. And each moment we have to make that decision. There's 1,000 times a day where something happens and we can either shoot from the hip and say something that would be a good comeback, or we can pause and see what the Spirit wants to say. Handle things just a little bit differently. It got me thinking, I think that's why I was so excited that Pope Francis was there, and why we love him so much. Pope Francis's personality is the slave of his soul. And can't you see it? It's the slave of his soul. When his soul tells him, say this, he says it. When his soul tells him, do this, he does it. Now, not perfectly and not every day, but in general, that's what we see in him. We see that his soul is driving the bus. And so he's trustworthy, and he's radiant, and he's filled with the Holy Spirit. So how about us? Are we? Later today, we will have 36 young people from our communities here at St. Patrick's and at St. Mary's confirmed. They're going to be confirmed on Pentecost Sunday. How cool is that? It's going to be a service at 6:30 tonight at St. Mary's to accommodate the large crowd. You're all invited to come. And something powerful is going to happen there. Bishop Hubbard, our Bishop Emeritus, is coming, and he is going to administer a sacrament that seals all the gifts of the Holy Spirit in the candidates, so that they no longer have to question, do I have the Holy Spirit in me? Do I have the gifts that the Spirit provides to people? Yes, you do. You do. You have a soul, and that's the home of the Spirit. And now this sacrament is going to seal those gifts in you and amplify them so that people will be able to see God when they meet you. When we talk about this, does it help you to understand why sin is so harmful? Isn't it a crazy thought that our soul is in our body? So that means wherever our body goes, our soul goes. So think about that. When we choose to go to Stewart's and get a coffee and gossip with someone about our neighbors, about what's going on, our soul has to go along for the ride. Isn't that unfair? That we hijack our soul and say, come with me, we're going to spread some trash about people. And your soul has to go. Isn't that awful? How about if you're going to tell a lie? You get into a situation and you say the opposite of the truth, and your soul has to be there and witness it. It's hijacked. You say, get in the back, we're going over here. How about when we're intimate with someone we're not connected to? If we haven't made a commitment and we decide to be intimate with them, we don't ask our soul, do you want to do this? Because if we're not married to them, our soul's going to say, no, actually I don't. That's why sin is so harmful. Because we hijack the vessel of the Holy Spirit and we make it be present for a place it does not wish to be. So today is such a beautiful day. It's Pentecost Day, it's Confirmation Day, it's Baptism Day for Cecilia Skye. What a perfect day for us to make a decision. And perhaps it is the first time we make this decision, or perhaps we're just renewing a decision that we made long ago. That we will allow our personalities to serve our souls. Because when we serve our souls, we serve the Holy Spirit.